Greetings, everyone. This is Trey. I'm here on this 31st day of December 2018, the very last day of the year. And I'm here joined by my new friend, Nicolas, who is an atheist who has generously and kindly agreed to come on and have an exchange with me regarding the topic of the existence of God. So welcome, Nicolas. I'm glad you could join me.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It's an honor to be on your show.
Okay, it's not much of a show, but yeah.
Your channel at least.
Yeah. All right, so whenever I have a conversation with someone like this, I always like to get a little bit of information just about my opponent's background, like if you have anything interesting about your life, any educational stuff or your job's interesting or where you live or anything like that. But most importantly, I'd like to know about your background to your religious perspective. Oftentimes the people that I engage with are apostate Christians, and it's always good to know where they came from, why they went the way that they did, and kind of just where they're at that moment. So would you mind just giving a little information? And I'll give some information about me.
Okay. Well, right now where I'm at is that I was injured last year. I dislocated my shoulder 3 times, and I had to have my shoulder replaced earlier this year. So while I was out of work, I decided it was time to go back to school. So I'm currently a student. I'm pursuing a degree in psychology and possibly another degree in sociology. I haven't decided yet if I want to go for the full master's in sociology or not. But I'm determined to get a degree in psychology. Now, as far as my religion, I'm 41, by the way, so I'm kind of an old student, but, I've got all the partying and stuff behind me, so I'm ready to just focus on schoolwork.
Sure.
So as far as the religious aspect goes, I was a Christian until I was 25. I was under the assumption there was a ton of evidence for the Bible, and that's why it was just so prominently believed. I just assumed it had to be real. But then I started to doubt some of the stories in the Bible. They just seemed kind of mythological to me. It just sort of seemed like it wasn't really real, that it didn't really happen, some of the stuff. So I looked for ways to confirm my belief, but I ran into a minister who had a degree in divinity, a master's in divinity degree. And he actually explained to me that the stories, most of the supernatural stories in the Bible didn't really happen. A lot of the other stories might have happened, but they were revised, that it was revised history. And I did some research on my own to see if that person's, if what he told me was correct. And it turned out he was spot on, so I didn't want to give it up. I didn't want to give up Christianity because it was my identity. I didn't want to not be a Christian, but I had to be honest. I tried to stay a Christian. I resorted to Pascal's wager. I told myself, I'm just going to believe, just in case it's real. I don't want to go to hell. But I felt like that was dishonest. So I decided to admit that I'd become an atheist. That basically is how that happened.
Okay. Well, that's great. That's helpful. Now, what kind of denominational background do you have when you were a Christian?
Pentecostal, and I shifted from Pentecostal to Episcopalian when I was 13. I got baptized as an Episcopalian when I was 13.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so that's quite a swing. Was this Doctor of Divinity that informed you about the what you perceive to be the true nature of the Bible? Was he Episcopalian then?
I'm not sure what denomination he was. I'm not sure that, I only hung out with him for about 6 months and then he moved. I don't even remember his name, but he had a huge impact on me because I was actually seeking to legitimize my faith. I wasn't looking for someone to tell me I was wrong at all. I wanted someone to tell me I was right and to go ahead and keep believing. Mm-hmm. But I worked out at the gym with this guy. One of the people there, I was telling him what I was going through as far as having doubts. And they told me, for some reason, this person told me to talk to this ex-minister. And I did. And he just laid it all out. He said he actually became an atheist while he was a minister.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Well, all right. Well, first of all, I'm sorry about your shoulder. I hope you're recuperating well. And
it's hard, man. I do physical therapy every day, twice a day.
is it getting better?
Yeah,
Okay.
it is, but I think I got another 6 months.
Wow.
I've been doing
Okay.
it for about a year.
Yeah. Well, I hope it gets better. That's a bummer. Um, all right. So for me, I've been a Christian 32 years.
Yeah,
And I became a Christian when I was 20, so I'm 52. And I actually became a Christian within the charismatic movement, which is kind of like Pentecostalism. So um, I actually got involved with a prophetic movement that was here in Kansas City. It was a big thing in the late 80s, early 90s. And then eventually ended up leaving the charismatic movement altogether. And right now I'm a Reformed Baptist. And I live in Kansas City area, and I'm a dental technician, and so I make crown and bridge work for dentists. So I'm a dental prosthetic or a dental. I don't even know what I am. I'm a dental technician. I make dental prostheses.
that's cool.
So, yeah. So I sadly I'm divorced. I have 6 children, ages 28 down to 15, 3 boys and 3 girls. And I'm interested. I don't have much formal education. I'm a kind of autodidact. I kind of just teach myself about things that I'm interested in. And one of the things that fascinates me is the topic of ultimate issues, just origins, meaning, morality and destiny. What is life all about? Why are we here?
Yeah.
And I enjoy having a bit of a philosophical bent, although I don't consider myself well educated so much. But
You seem like a philosopher to me. I watched a couple of your videos. I don't know anything about philosophy except for Gettier cases. I'm familiar with Gettier cases. You're talking about ontological arguments and teleological arguments. And to me, I'm not a Matt Dillahunty. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
I don't have cogent arguments against those arguments.
Okay. Sure. Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
And so what I'd like to do, though, Nicholas, is just as this this former minister, challenged you to check out the facts, I'd like to maybe give you a few things that maybe you could think about and maybe test them to reality and see if they do find themselves to be coherent or.
Okay, but the topic of the show was the existence of God with a capital G. So I'm assuming when you say God, you're talking about the God of the Bible.
Well,
the God of the Jews, the God of the Hebrews.
I'm a Christian, so yes, I would be purporting the God of the Bible as being the creator and sustainer of all things. I don't know how I wouldn't be, unless I were like a Hindu or something. But anyway, so what I want to do before we begin our inquiry, I have a fairly standard procedure that I go through, and I ask my interlocutor if they will allow me a few presuppositions. I'm not a presuppositionalist. I'm just saying a few epistemological tools that we have in order to establish what we'd like to discuss. And one of those is the basic reliability of sense perception. I'm not saying that all of our senses or our sense perception is completely accurate, but I'm saying that our sense of perception is enough for us to be able to understand that we do really, that I myself as the inquirer exist, that I have enough sense that I myself am inquiring about something.
Yeah, I agree you exist, man. We're in agreement upon the fact that you exist.
Okay, good. And never had anybody disagree with that. And then secondly, I want to ask that you would grant me logical coherence, but namely the law of non-contradiction. Would you grant me that too, that if we're going to do any inquiry, we've got to filter it through the laws of logic. And if they're illogical, then we really have no way to test those empirical facts that we have in order to see if they correspond to reality.
Can I explain something to you, though?
Sure.
I'm not a hard atheist.
Okay.
So I fashioned myself as one when I was rather uneducated, but I've been studying and I've been listening to other debates by other individuals, and I realized there's really no way I can deny that a unknown God might exist. I mean, there could have been a creator that might fit the description of a God, what I call a godlike thing. It might exist. I don't know. I don't have absolute knowledge. and we're limited by what we know. So I can't definitively rule out that a godlike thing might exist.
Okay.
So,
Well,
but it's a good thing. Luckily for me, the topic of the show is the existence of God with a capital G. So we can just talk about your particular God, the God you believe in, and not some unknown God that might be responsible for the laws of logic and everything else like that, you know, or our existence or whatever. I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm being honest right now. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't think a hard atheist is being intellectually honest. I know I offend much of my atheist friends like that, but I don't, it's an argument from ignorance, and I don't want to be logically fallacious. So I'm telling you right off the bat that if we're going to debate about the existence of an unknown God, I concede there might be an unknown God. I have no clue. I have no clue. I have no logical argument against an unknown God.
Okay, I'm not making an argument for agnosticism. I'm making an argument for Christianity. And
okay, good. So we're going to talk about the Christian God, the God of the Jews, the Hebrew God, Judeo-Christian God.
Yes, of course.
Okay, great.
But we're not going to be talking about a God of probability. We're going to talk about the analytical reality of God's existence. In other words, I'm not going to give you
the God of the Bible. So we have evidence. You know, there should be evidence that the events in the Bible actually occurred if your God is real, right?
Well, yeah, sure.
Okay, so there should be evidence for Adam and Eve and Noah's Ark, and the day that the sun didn't move in the sky because the Earth stopped spinning. Like, there should be evidence for that if your God is real.
Yes, there should be evidence that that points to the idea of there being such a thing as a creation.
Let's get down to the evidence then.
Okay, so you granted my first two foundational elements, the basic reliability of sense perception and rational coherence of the laws of logic. Now, if in fact it is true that I exist, or if anything exists, there are only four possibilities.
Right.
To explain that. And it would be either it's an illusion, either it is self-created, or it is self-existent, or it is created by something that is self-existent.
Or we just don't know. Right? There's a fifth possibility. We always got to keep in mind there's stuff we don't know. You don't know it. I don't know it. Nobody knows it. Okay, or if someone knows it, you know, we don't know if they really know it for sure.
Okay, Nicholas, are you familiar with the principle of Occam's razor?
I've heard of it.
Okay.
It's been misused so much. I hear people pull that out there, whatever, a lot. Occam's razor just, you know, makes this, but I hear atheists use it. I hear Christians use it. I don't really rely on Occam's razor for much. I just rely on data. What we have as far as what we can think is relatively close to the truth. I don't ever think I know the truth.
Okay, so what is the principle of Occam's razor?
That the most easiest explanation would most likely be the correct explanation.
Okay, so you cannot, without warrant, overcomplicate an argument. And so to say that I don't know is basically a capitulation to say that there's no use in inquiry. All right. And if that's basically, you're saying, I'm saying you can know, and you're saying, well, I don't know. So you're making actually the greatest violation of parsimony there, Occam's razor, by saying that
it's just being honest.
I'm sorry?
It's just called intellectual honesty. That's my worldview, is to be intellectually honest. I'm not an atheist. No. As far as a worldview is concerned, atheism is a result of being intellectually honest.
Well, you're the first one that I found that can actually. I'd love to see you. One thing that I've learned.
We don't know.
I've been doing this about almost a decade now, Nicholas. I've not found one atheist that's been honest with the facts. Not one. And you can tell me that you're honest with the facts. That's fine. But I'm going to
great.
False.
I think I'm being honest. At least I could be wrong. I always keep in mind that I could be wrong.
Okay, and that's so do I.
Okay.
You know,
have you ever tried to prove yourself wrong?
I do it every day. That's why.
So have you ever tried to prove your faith wrong? Have you ever tried to prove that Christianity is not right?
I do it every day. That's why I hold to it, because I cannot disprove it.
So what do you do to try to prove it wrong?
I try to doubt it as much as I can, and that's what
What do you do? What method do you use to prove it wrong?
Well, if you'll let me do it, I'll do it with you. Would you like to proceed?
I want to hear you tell me how you know Christianity is true.
All right. If something exists, there are only 4 possibilities. Now, if you want to say 5
Hold on.
possibilities.
That's appealing to a generic God. I want to know about the evidence from the Bible that leads you to conclude that your God is the correct God, not a generic God that might be hidden.
I cannot begin with the Bible when I am thinking abstractly about the concept of God existing.
Fine, I'm already conceded that a God might exist. I want to know why you think your God exists.
Okay, do you believe that a creator who is self-existent, sustains you, and to whom you owe thanks for that, exists?
I don't really think I owe thanks to him because I didn't ask to be existent. You know,
Then
I don't
why
think.
Did you eat this morning?
Yeah, but there's plenty of people that didn't eat this morning. I don't just think about myself.
Why did you eat this morning? Answer the
I
question.
did, but look, there's a lot of people that didn't.
Why did you eat? I didn't ask if you ate. I said, why did you eat?
I ate because I was hungry, but what I'm trying to explain to you is there's a lot of people that didn't eat. I don't just think about myself, okay? There's a lot of people that weren't able to eat. There's a lot of people that died today from hunger. I think more about them. I'm privileged, okay? I have help. I don't. A lot of people don't have help.
To be what I said more quickly than I even imagined.
I'm telling you, I don't just think about myself and how privileged I am and give thanks to a God. I think about all the people that are suffering and dying in the world.
What does that have to do with this conversation?
You're talking about the existence of God with a capital G.
And what if people starving to death?
Where do you get this idea that your God exists? From the Bible? Right? The Bible is the evidence for God, right? Not whether we exist or not. It's the Bible that's the evidence for God.
I see. Okay, well, I need to move on, Nicholas.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, but I thought we were making progress in our conversation.
No, you're not interested in having a conversation. You're just trying to
I'm trying to talk to you right now. You said the topic of debate was the evidence of God with a capital G. That means the God of the Bible.
No, it's a God with a small g.
On Facebook, you put a capital G in front of God. And I replied to you, okay, the topic of the debate is God with a capital G.
No, it's
okay, now we know.
A small g, and it's
you didn't write a small g.
It's in New Times Roman too.
You wrote God with a capital G. I'm not here to argue about hidden gods. I want to talk about the God of the Bible. And the Bible is the evidence for the God of the Bible, and that's why I don't believe in the God of the Bible. I'm not here to talk about generic gods.
Okay. All right. Well, I like I said, I need to move on, but I appreciate the time with you, Nicholas. And
so you're done. That's it. That's over. You can't talk about evidence for the Bible. It's just done. That's it. You can't operate outside of your gimmick. Basically, is what I'm learning right now.
Yeah, you're right about that. You got me pinned. Anyway, I appreciate it, and I wish you all the best and a happy new year.
Okay? Yeah, God bless you.
All right.